So, what is emotional regulation, and what are some strategies that you can use whenever you become triggered and emotionally dysregulated? Well, the process of emotionally regulating ultimately involves being able to use strategies in order to get yourself back emotionally grounded after being triggered by some type of external force or circumstance. So, this can look like road rage, it can look like an argument with your partner, it can look like seeing something on social media that might trigger you. um, Feelings of jealousy, anxiety, anything that takes you from an even keel emotional state and transfers you into your sympathetic nervous state. And so essentially, what you want to do is try to stay within a parasympathetic state with your nervous system. This is the state responsible for rejuvenation, rest, relaxation, and it also allows for you to tap into the more logical sides of your brain. Whereas when you become emotionally dysregulated, your body goes into a sympathetic nervous state. And so this nervous state is responsible for your fight, flight, or freeze response. It's a state of the nervous system that's very old in the sense that it was very helpful for like way back when we were hunter-gatherers, or when we had to hunt for food, or when we were more susceptible to the wild. Like prey, predators, and we needed to really be able to survive and self-preserve. And so your body will go into this heightened adrenaline state in order to be able to respond to external stimuli that were a threat to your livelihood. And so this function is still very prevalent in the body, but sometimes it can be activated in situations where the magnitude or the context is not necessary for you to go into that state. And one of the negatives or the cons to being in a sympathetic nervous state on a regular basis is that it can compromise your health because it puts a lot of stress on the body. So this can look like a compromise, not necessarily compromise, but it can weaken your immune system. It can have a negative effect on your mental health. And it can also just disrupt how your food is being digested and your body's ability to absorb the necessary macronutrients from your food. And so the process of emotionally regulating is almost kind of like working out in regards to strengthening a muscle. There's many different strategies that you can use in order to become emotionally regulated and or shift into a parasympathetic state. And I'm just going to share a few of the strategies that I've used and that I feel are very helpful, both for immediate situations where you don't really have time to take these more long-term strategies, but you need something that's going to act very quickly in order to get yourself back regulated, and also some strategies that are a little bit more spread out in terms of its effectiveness and how quickly you can get back regulated. And also, before I go into that, I do want to mention just some signs of knowing whenever you are emotionally deregulated. So some of the telltale signs are just your typical symptoms of anxiety. This can be a heightened heart rate. For me, sometimes it comes across in my eyes the way I blink. So my blinking will become more static or stiff. It could be your body language, as far as if your shoulders are very tense or if you find that your muscles are very tense or not in a relaxed state. It can also be how your speech is coming across. It can come across more quickly or more slurred. Also, your processing isn't going to be as logical and as grounded. So this is a space essentially where you are not thinking the most logically, you're thinking from the more emotional part of your brain. And as a result, you can make these compulsive decisions that can have these very long-term consequences. So in extreme cases, this could be a road rage incident where somebody ends up taking the other person's life. So of course, at a grounded space, you're realizing, okay, there's really no type of road rage that warrants killing somebody. But in that moment, the way your body responds is almost that sense of, I need to survive. And it's misplaced, but it's just the way that our bodies have been trained, just from socialization and not being able to train ourselves to be able to become more relaxed when we are triggered. Another thing I wanted to mention also is that when you are able to train yourself to emotionally regulate, this will have a positive effect in all areas of your life. Because I've seen, even for myself and in other people, things that are actually good for them and that are going well for them can be compromised or lost as a result of not being able to regulate emotionally. So this can look like making a crass or impulsive decision to end a relationship because you're triggered. And you might go and do something that is just irredeemable in your partner's eyes, and that can end the relationship, whereas that was probably a relationship that was worth preserving and one that was very beneficial for both parties involved. Strategy number one that I'll share is just pay attention to your breathing. So as I was sharing some of the signs of being emotionally dysregulated, Taking shallow breaths is a sign that you might be emotionally dysregulated and your body might be in a more sympathetic nervous state. And so being able to shift your breathing a lot of times can get oxygen into your cells and allow you to shift into a more relaxed state in order to be able to deal with any triggers that you're experiencing. Specifically, I would try the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So this is essentially where you're gonna breathe in for 4 seconds, you're gonna hold it for 7 seconds, and then you're gonna breathe out for 8 seconds. And just do that cycle, repeat it at least for a minute. I'll try to go for 2 minutes, especially if you're in the moment of being triggered. And just doing this simple technique, you'll find it's gonna dampen the gravity or the weight of an emotional reaction that might cause you to, lash out. Another very, very helpful strategy is doing some type of aerobic exercise and or cardio. I think they're the same actually, but essentially you need to get your heart rate up and your blood pumping through your body because there's actually chemical reactions that are happening in your brain that will boost your mood and take you out of an angered or frustrated state. And so this is going to be one of those strategies that is a little bit more, if you can afford to take a step away to get yourself back regulated, this is going to be one of those strategies that'll be very helpful. So for example, if you find you are in an argument with your partner, or if you do see something on social media that triggers you, somebody maybe sends you a message that gets you upset, just take a step away from whatever is triggering you and go do some jumping jacks. You can take like a 10-minute walk. You can go to the gym, use the treadmill, elliptical, just try to do something that is gonna get your heart rate up because this is gonna take you out of that triggered state and help your body get back regulated. So this third strategy is one of my favorites, and it's basically to take a nap, just go to sleep. And if it is late at night, just go ahead and go to bed and distance yourself from whatever is triggering you. And I've even seen people joke about this on social media where they'll say, like one thing about it is I'm gonna take a nap, if something is inconveniencing me or something stressing me out. And while it is kind of a running joke, that's a very smart way to deal with being emotionally triggered. Because not only is it gonna put your body in a rest state to be able to get back relaxed and regulated, it'll also give you time to allow your emotions to even out a little bit. And then once you wake up, then you can try and process whatever it was that did trigger you and how you can go about resolving that trigger or resolving whatever wound might have been touched in that moment. So I believe this is the fourth strategy. This one is also very effective, but this can take some training and getting used to. Taking cold showers or even washing your hands with very cold water can be very helpful in snapping your body out of the sympathetic nervous state. I know cold baths in general are good for strengthening your immune system because it almost shocks your body into balancing out the equilibrium that is thrown off from the cold water. And I found that when it comes to getting out of my head and, dampening or limiting or reducing the amount of the weight of being triggered, cold showers can be very, very helpful. And so you don't have to immediately start the water off on ice cold. You can gradually titrate the water. I don't know if that's the right word, but you can gradually adjust the water temperature until you are able to, maintain or handle colder temperatures. But this can be very helpful. And, in extreme cases, you can even take cold baths. The last strategy that I would like to share is prayer and just listening to some type of music that brings you a sense of peace and calm. So depending on your spiritual/religious orientation, your prayer could look very different. So for me, I do Psalms 23 and the Lord's Prayer just because I have a Christian background. That's how I was brought up. And though some of my values have changed, I found that there's just a lot of truth in those prayers and they do bring me a sense of peace and release. And they've been very effective in getting me back emotionally grounded as well. Also, I listen to like worship music. There's frequency tracks on YouTube that you can listen to, like those Hertz tracks. Just any type of music that's calming and relaxing for you that can also help you get back into an emotionally grounded state. So yeah, I hope these tips were very helpful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And I'll see you guys on the next video.